A secret unknown electric car where we hide the logo is today on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars with Thomas. Okay, I'm just kidding. You maybe read the title already. It's the Nissan Leaf with the upgraded battery. So now with a range up to 250 kilometers. And we'll soon show you how this car looks like when it's unplugged. And we're going to take all the details on the exterior, interior and the driving, of course, and test the total range. Here at the moment we are at the charging station from a regional energy company who has supplied us with the energy here for the Nissan Leaf. And we'll also show you the app for the Nissan Leaf. It's also very interesting and tell you everything about charging and handling this car in everyday driving. Let's now go with Autogefühl in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Is anyone remembering MTV Unplugged? Well, this is Nissan Leaf Unplugged. And you see here, this is here the Mode 3 cable. Also, it's at the other side for those charging stations. And then you can close it. At a household plug, it can take up to 12 hours. Here's the logo completed now, also in this blue design here for the Nissan Leaf. And when you have this charging stations, it takes about 3 to 5 hours, so you can put that one in half for the whole charging process. In the front, well, the design really polarizes. They have worked on the wind coefficient. So you see also here this floating line where the wind should be directed to the rear of the car. And those headlights here are really standing out literally. And I'm not sure. To me, it's really not my design favorite. Or what's your opinion? 4.45 meters or 14'6" is the total length of this electric vehicle. And it is often said electric vehicles are too expensive and don't have enough range. Well, the Nissan Leaf proves otherwise. So we're going to examine that in a driving situation. 16-inch rims, rather small. And you know, with the electric cars, you always try not to go too big rims to optimize the rolling resistance. And I'm really honest with you guys. I think the concept of the car, as for the range and as for the price, because it's about 29,000 euros or US dollars. So that's a really good entry price for a fully electric car, really accessible. And with a new battery for 250 kilometers of range, you have to top up even 5,000 euros more. And there are some leasing configurations as well, where you pay less for the battery, but then monthly. So that's also possible then. But as good as the concept is, as bad is the design in the rear. I mean, that's my honest opinion. If you think otherwise, I would be really interested. Tell me that one in comments, but I'm not sure what they thought about here in the rear. Well, those vertical taillights, they are, you know, have something, you know, in this special form, also with the clear white display. But other than that, I mean, it's not form follows function because it reduces the trunk space. And it almost likes, you know, not really like a car, like something else. I don't know. Very interesting. You see this solar cell here up on the rear top. And this is supporting the energy. We also know that in the Toyota Prius, they want to introduce that. So far, it doesn't make a big difference. It's just like testing technology a little bit. That might also be a concept for the future if you would extend it over the whole roof. What can we see underneath the hood? 30 kilowatt hours is the power of this engine here. And you see, there's really no plug-in, hybrid whatsoever, pure electric. This is the pure electric engine. It looks way different than we would have a combustion engine in here. And it was always interesting. By the way, it's a little bit wet because we cleaned the car before. Here, those orange cables, you always find them with the electric drive, and I suppose they make them orange that, for example, firefighters in a crash can really see, oh, there's maybe some high voltage at this point. And what's also interesting, this is here the classic battery, so this is for light and stuff. So it depends on some electric cars just have this very one battery, the big one that's also for the driving. Some, especially plug-in hybrids, split it still with the classic battery for the classic stuff and the big battery for the driving. Let's get inside here with this rather simple key, and here, keyless entry, you have to press the button, then you can also access the car. And then on the inside of the doors, this is nice, we got some cloth here. This is also rather soft plastics, hard plastic only at the upper part, door handles. Then only one automatic window lowerer, the other ones you have to hold to close or lower it. And I've not turned on the ignition right now because it would go like all beep, 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 and that's really annoying. Then the seats in the middle from a cloth material, it's very, very soft, so very nice to feel it. But when it's very soft, it can also get very warm, so it's good for winter times. Let's take it that way. And manual control to pump up the seats, for example, like this. We got a lot of round shapes here on the dashboard and on the steering wheel. More details that very soon. Then you can also see those digital instruments in the middle part. And if you take a look to the right side, we got this blue automatic shifting lever at the lower part. We'll also take a detail on that and also tell you more about the infotainment. And let's get inside. It is a compact size car. And well, does it feel like this? It doesn't feel that you have too much space. I think it's pretty much standard. One disadvantage is that the steering wheel can only be adjusted in height, like this here. You cannot pull it towards you. And sometimes you get the feeling that the steering wheel is maybe a little bit too far away. So I will maybe have it like this. Again, I can pump up the seat. You can also adjust it like this or menu, but that's pretty much fine, that's manual. What you feel that you sit rather upright, it's well, not an SUV feeling, but it's also not that low as in some other compact cars, so that's remarkable. And well, headspace, still got enough. I'm 1.86 or 6'1". And I would say, let's take a look at the cockpit overview now. And that's it. I can also turn on the ignition, and that's really annoying. You have a lot of times, nice visualization here, that you have a lot of beeping sounds no matter what you do, like beep here, beep there, and sometimes you don't really know what's happening. Overall, the interior looks a little bit dated. Also, the middle area here pops a little bit out. Then you see there's a split between the speedometer and the digital instruments, more for the range and stuff. More deals to that soon. The steering wheel has a rather round shape, and overall the whole console here comes pretty far towards you. And here, for example, you also got some storage spaces on the lower part. That's solid quality here and solid space. Some more space right here. And in the front you have seat heating controls and also beverage holders and place to put your smartphone USB port, and this is here an aux in port with a huge cover. And some more storage for your glasses here, sunglasses for example. And you can put some bigger bottles even at the inside of the doors, that's working fine. And the glove box department right here, a lot of space there inside. The steering wheel is also unique. We have this blue shaded logo here in the central part, and we always see the same forms. And I mean, that's at least stringent that they carry out the exterior design to the interior like this, or also with the instruments like here. You have some buttons for volume, for example, or source, audio source. And you can control the middle screen from there. Cruise control on the right part. And also interestingly, those buttons in the lower left part. Heated steering wheel, there's a package available for the heated steering wheel and the heated seats. Traction control off. Then this one here is interesting. When you go forward, the car makes an artificial noise, and also when you go backwards, as well a different one. Here you can deactivate this safety feature for pedestrians. Then you can also control the electric stuff here, for example, to open the front cap we've shown you initially. Here's also for the timer, and here, for example, to close or open the charging plug. You can set it on auto. Then, for example, it is locked when you charge, and it can be unlocked then when you unlock the car or charging is done. In the middle part, nothing is happening, it's always open. And lock, then it's really closed until you manually unlock it. Instruments, you can see the range on the right hand side. It's not flickering in real life, by the way, and some other information about the battery. However, about how fast you're going is right over there, so you don't need a head-up display and don't have to lower your sight that much from the street. AC unit, you see it here, pretty simple everything, and not from highest quality, but just basic stuff. Then the infotainment system, the visualization is rather poor and old, so nothing really that modern. You can also see it here when I'm scrolling through the menu. You can connect your phone via Bluetooth, that is possible. Pressing here phone, then connecting via Bluetooth, that is possible. For example, volume can be controlled here or also at the steering wheel. Then the GPS, you see the visualization is okay, but here it takes so much time, it's so laggy, and well, you can zoom in and out like with the smartphone, but it really takes ages. What is nice is this zero emission button. There you can, for example, find nearby stations. Then he's connecting and searching for the nearest charging stations, and we could see here, we're shooting in Germany today, and you can just navigate to the next charging stations. That is very relevant. And there's also this Nissan Zero Emission app for the Leaf. There you can also check out the maximum range with AC off and with the AC on. 98% charging, and for example here you can also remote start the charging. For example, if you have it at home and want to have it plugged in or something, then or forgot to start something on it. So that's also possible with this app. It's nice that we got this special support by the app. And sometimes when you want to check out some live data, also find charging stations, for example, or information on the vehicle, it takes a little bit. But then you can see, your latest trip, how long you went, what's your, your eco stuff, and also simulation for the price of the energy, and a lot to find out with this app. Really unique is also the gear selector with this blue contrast, parking mode here, and then if you go like this, you go with reverse gear like this, in drive mode, and another time in the recuperation mode. So it depends on if you want to let the car roll or go downhill for a longer time, then you go into the recuperation mode. We haven't seen something like this before, so it's also, an interesting idea. And the rear view camera is like this. Not the best resolution, but you have a good overview. I'm not sure if you can hear it when I put down the windows. I've deactivated at the moment the pedestrian safety, and if I activate it slightly, I'm not sure if you hear it on microphone, it's just not that loud, but some beep, beep, beep when I roll backwards, and then it's finishing when I'm going forward. And also here, it's also although when I'm going forward, there's a slight sound that can be activated. It's a really funny system. Here again, maybe we can also record from the outside. So I can either go silently backwards like this, or then activate this passenger safety sound. Beep, beep. And the same as was going forward. like this, it's nothing. And then if I activate it again, did you hear it? It's just some very silent sound, but it works until a speed of 30 kilometers an hour, because electric cars are really silent, and that might be, not be realized by some pedestrians passing by. Therefore, this special function. Some electric cars have it built in, that it's always doing like this small sound, and some have no sound built in. It's also a matter to discuss, definitely. What about the space in the rear? As I would be driving as a rather tall driver, almost 90-degree opening of the doors. The knee space is okay. Strange is that the front seats are relatively high and the rear seats are, in comparison, relatively low. Let's see that my knees are always almost at the shoulders of the front driver, and also the rear bench is falling a little bit backward, but overall the cloth of the seats makes it still rather comfortable here in the rear. Headspace, that still does work, and I think for a compact car there's a reasonable offering of space here in the rear. We have definitely seen worse in this segment. Then you can also flip the bench right from here, from the rear, like this. There's a step towards the trunk. We can also show you the trunk area very soon there as well. Now let's access the trunk. 370 liters in total. See, enough space to store your charging cables, and there are also clean solutions like this here. This is for the second charging cable, for the normal household plug, as it would look in Germany and some other European countries. The manual, by the way, is that thick you could kill someone with it. Literally, it's like, I don't know, 3 kilos. And then you see there's not much space wasted. Here maybe a little bit for some parts, but overall it's well usable. And you see here the 2/3, 1/3 split. You got a gap here, but again you can also use the space we have on the lower part here. And the battery is mainly placed in the center part of the car, which is a very good decision to keep the center of gravity low and also don't lose too much space in the trunk. Let's start driving, and the greatest thing about electric cars is start driving and you hear nothing, maybe with artificial sound I explained to you earlier. See if you can also hear it from the inside, the difference. I turn it off now. At least when we're going backward you hear it also from the inside. That going forward sound you hardly hear a difference if you're sitting inside. So I'm not sure about this feature, because I think it's a good thing when electric cars are silent. However, I mean, a warning for pedestrians is basically also a good idea. So I have mixed feelings about that. What about you? Put me that one in the comments. The Nissan Leaf here, by the way, is, it's always difficult to compare horsepower figures. But if you calculate it, this would be about 110 horsepower, and the acceleration 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 0 to 60 miles an hour is about 11.5 seconds. So it means it's not a slow car, and especially see it now when the traffic light is turning to green, especially just on the 0 to 30, for example, that the car is really fast, as with all the electric cars, and you can really out accelerate some sports cars with the electric car. Then that is definitely exciting. Then of course if you go to higher speeds, there's less power available, and you also don't have so much high total speeds. That's not the best field for the electric cars. Like this here, really good acceleration, and that's why it's also fun to drive electric cars, because you're really fast still. And overall, well, it is from the length a compact car, but it feels like it would be a smaller car. So I have the feeling maybe like driving a small segment car right here. And that's also not bad, because it makes you a little bit more flexible inside the city. The overview, is basically also good. It's not too much limiting here. Maybe the A pillar that is limiting the view a little bit. Let's just go here around in a circle, test the handling. Car is tilting a little bit to the outward side. It doesn't have the sportiest setup. It's more set on a rather comfortable ride. We feel that. Also, the steering wheel is not steering itself. It's not that direct, but feels rather natural. And it really feels like a fun small car to ride inside the city. I always enjoy riding rather silently. And always when you go back to some combustion engine cars, you ask yourself, why? Why are you still doing this? I mean, what's the point? And then you still think, okay, this is what should be the standard now. And you'd hardly feel any difference between standing still and driving then. We have turned on the AC at the moment because it's really hot today, and therefore also the range is going down a little bit. But we've tested it already now on at least 300, 400 kilometers, and I can tell you what you see in the display is also true. So if you leave the AC out and drive calmly, you can reach this 250 kilometers of range. Realistically, with AC on, some other electrical stuff, and when you sometimes hammer the throttle, maybe if you want to overtake someone, maybe you just want to have fun, then it's rather realistic that you have some 220, 230 kilometers, something like that. But for most purposes, this is already enough. I even mostly get along with the plug-in hybrid with maybe 40, 50 kilometers, because for me, for example, meanwhile, when it's over 300 kilometers a destination, then I usually take a train or maybe a plane if it's even longer. I mainly use cars then for short and mid distance. Just so great. So silent, even when you turn them on. And it's a really easy to handle car, that's for sure. And it's, as it feels a little bit smaller, go-kart style. Here, especially now when we're going in an area with a lot of housing stuff, we want to be silent here. We don't want to annoy anyone. And here, see also some slalom. I mean, it has a better road contact than I was hoping for. You see here, I have to work a little bit more with the steering wheel than in other cars. Could be a little bit more direct, at least for my driving feeling. Having the throttle, you can also very well see the speed always when we are changing to this camera here. And when I'm leaving the throttle, then it depends on if I'm in a D, in the driving mode, the car is just rather rolling and just slowly reducing the speed. And also when the battery is totally full, then the same is happening. Even if you are in the so-called B mode, and I can go to this B mode. The B mode is the recuperation mode, and now it does work when the battery is not totally full, when I'm then pushing the throttle first. And then, for example, I say, there's 30 kilometers now, maximum speed. Now I just leave the throttle. The car is reducing the speed even more, and then recuperating, filling up energy into the battery again. Also, for example, here now I leave some pedestrians by. No braking energy is lost. So first the car is recuperating, and then, also in the D mode, you could also just leave the car in the D mode, and then as soon as you hammer the brakes, there's a recuperation happening, and you always see that in the front display also if more power is applied or if more energy is recuperated, going to the left side or the right side each time. And especially when going downhill for a long time, no energy is wasted, you can always get that back into the battery again. And with those over 200 kilometers of range now even stepped it up with a new battery they have installed from Nissan guys. I think 95% of at least the European populations, they will be just totally fine with this range for the most. If you're working business side, we have to go like 100,000 kilometers a year and really like on the road every day and have some 6-7 hour ride. That's nothing yet for that. But everything else, the most distances can be covered by that. And you are driving rather relaxed because you have no engine sound. And I think it's also a little bit comparable with the Nissan Pulsar. The Pulsar maybe feels like a little bit bigger vehicle, but you could also like size-wise compare it, for example. But I would, just from the driving part, rather go with that one. This one here feels rather agile and also then has the electric drive, which is really just fun to drive. So now, what about some higher speeds and also some acceleration? For example, now let's go 30 to 70 and then you can see how fast that goes. And let's hammer the throttle now. Immediately. And 70. Wow. It's really like in the sports cars, especially in those low kilometer range situations. So we're like 0 to 30, 30 to 60, something like that. And there's, you don't have to wait for any turbo to set in or whatever. This is instant torque, and that's also a characteristic of the electric drive. And here again, some slalom, you see the car's tilting a little bit because the suspension wants to soak up something more. So it's not the sportiest setup, but due to this instant torque and the rather compact size of the car, it's definitely a fun feeling driving the car. So I really have to admit, when I looked at the car first, I would think, design is not so pleasing to me. I'm not so sure if I would go for this car, but riding the car is really promising. So that is, I think, a game changer. We have to drive this car to get to know it and, also to appreciate it a little bit more. So driving this car here is, to me, definitely the integral part. Now I'm reducing the speed again, recuperating as soon as I hit the brakes. It's, by the way, mostly with the electric cars or also plug-in hybrid, first recuperation, then if you brake even harder, then also the normal brakes are applied. Or here, for example, going down, I don't have to stay on the brakes. I could also go into the B mode, then leave the brakes, for example, but now it's maybe a little bit too much. I go into the D mode again, so you can change around it a little bit, depending on, there's a speed camera. Hello, guys. No photo for us here today from the speed camera, guys. Would have been too expensive, I guess. So rolling towards traffic light. Let's see how much recuperation. 3 dots there, maximum 3 out of 4 dots I have used now. Because, for example, with the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, I had the situation that when you applied the brakes a little bit harder, maybe due to the anti-blocking system of the brakes, the recuperation was not working anymore and was just used by the normal brakes. Here it's also fine when you use the brakes a little bit harder, that the maximum recuperation is used, and that's, I think, also a better way to do it, definitely. So what is missing, for example, is we can also show you a little bit going faster with the car. That will be coming up very soon as well. Now, green traffic light again. And you can have fun in the acceleration all the time. Of course, this is also, costing a little bit of range. You have to decide, do you want to drive for the, for the best range there is, or maybe for the best consumption? But it's basically the same with also normal combustion engine cars. There's also really depending on how much you apply the throttle or not. So I think the biggest downside of the car as for driving is really the limited visibility with the A-pillar here. Other than that, it's a really good driving feeling and you can really get used to it. And again, just confirmed my initial view on that one. It feels like it would be a little bit smaller car. Maybe has also something to do with the rather small steering wheel and that you have a rather upright seating position here. That might also go along with that one here. Just a little bit from the electric engine. Here begin now some countryside road. I can also do some slalom at higher speeds. You can see how the car's behaving. Yeah, at higher speeds, the steering is not feeling that natural anymore. So some steerings is that they are rather soft when you're in the lower speeds and a little bit harder at the higher speeds. Here I think it could be a little bit more increased. And now you see as I'm going faster, this is not really the area of the Nissan Leaf, because you need a little bit longer steering angle for that. So, but now back into about 50 kilometers an hour, normal city driving speed limit in Germany. That's really the area. Going in those city regions, that's where this car feels at home. However, I mean, it's not really like a totally bad Autobahn car. I mean, it's limited anyway at some point. I think it was, maybe we can ask our camera, 130 kilometers an hour? What was it, the total Autobahn limit?
144.
144. Thank you very much. You know, always good to have someone to give some more information if you were lacking someone. So, I mean, that's okay. You don't have to go faster on the most European Autobahns anyway. Germany is really an exception where people can at some point also go totally crazy. We sometimes do that as well for you, just to show you some performance. But for the most European countries, or also in the US and also for our friends in Asia, most of the time the motorways are limited in speed, maybe 100, 110, 130 kilometers an hour. Then this one will also be just fine with the Nissan Leaf here. So overall, I think a nice driving impression. I think it's the biggest strength of this car. And one more, look at the instruments here in the tunnel. You always want to see that, how that looks like. And then some higher speeds as well. That one was missing. So for example now 90 to 120, let's go. Still a lot of power, wow. And 120. Just above that, then it gets a little bit slower, and then we also steadily reach the maximum speed. But here, even for overtaking maneuvers on the motorway, that is still feasible. I mean, really good result as for the performance. Of course, on the motorway, the range is going down faster, but you're also progressing faster. I mean, so that's also only a natural thing, of course. And sound insulation wise, we have surely had better cars, but still, I think it's an okay result because you don't go too fast with this car anyway. And it also feels relatively stable here also at 120 kilometers an hour, that you still feel comfortable even at those speeds here. And again, at higher speeds, for example, like here now, I have to reduce the speed. Then I can use again the power that is recuperating, massive recuperation taking place then. So even in those situations, not so much energy is lost then again. And now to our conclusion, Nissan Leaf with the upgraded battery. And I got some assistance from our other Thomas. You might remember we have 3 Thomas in Autogefühl: Thomas Maischak, Thomas Plachetsky and Thomas Imhoff. You've seen him lately with the Mirai or also the Prius video. So it's like Thomas M, Thomas B or Thomas I. Not I as in me, but I as in Imhoff. So it's like Thomas M, I and B, MIB. Comes the MIB, you know. But back, yeah, Man in Black. But back to our Nissan Leaf. Thomas has also driven it for a longer time than me even, so I want to consider him as well with his opinion. I think exterior-wise, really not my favorite car. I think it's a fail exterior-wise, but there's reasonable space on the inside and also good comfort when riding. The driving itself was really promising, so a good electric ride, that is the strength of this car, I think. So especially this calm electric ride with the agile handling, that really surprised me in a positive way. And what about you? How you rate exterior, interior and also the driving experience, especially because you have driven the car in your everyday life?
Yeah, so the driving experience is really exciting because you get another feeling to drive this car. You're mostly defensive and look at the lights. If there is a red light, you don't push the throttle and don't push the brake. So you are driving more
Calmer.
calmer, economative. Yeah, and there is something like yeah, how can I know it? How can I say it? Like a competition to drive as far as possible. So you put off the air condition, you open the windows, and you get another feeling if you're driving this car because you will smell something in the air if the windows are open, and so
Driving through the forest, for example.
yeah, right. Yeah, so things you don't recognize the last 10 years, you will know again. Yes, and so it is really a comfortable driving. But I have a very important request for all the car drivers with petrol and diesel engines. So don't park your car at the parking stations in front of the power outlets. Please let them free for electric cars. So this is one of the few problems you have when you're driving an electric car. You have to search for a place which is free and not occupied by a petrol car. So this is very important. And if the infrastructure will get better, so the problems will be less. So, but now it is really important that we have got free parking place in front of the power outlets.
And what we've also realized is when we're working here with the Nissan Leaf, a lot of people came to us and asked some questions. Hey, how does it work with a charging station? Of all, does it make sense with electric car? We know at the given stage you have to produce the energy somewhere. Therefore, also like this zero emission is not really true. But if you think about into the future, maybe batteries get easier to produce and with less energy, and we can also produce the energy better from renewables and stuff, because it's not the problem that we don't have enough energy produced. We have to store it somewhere, and I think that solution has to be solved in the future.
Yeah, right. You have read right. Last words. Nothing to put on again. It is really. If you speak with the people and they give you a lot of questions, and you can answer it very often with yes, but yes. So you see that the people are very interested in electricity cars and in the problems or not the problems you have if you're driving this car. And there is a lot of space for discussion and a lot of very exciting talks with the people, and a lot of people are going away and thinking, hey, this is a really clever idea. Yes, it's right. I don't need a car every day to drive 500 kilometers or one without a stop. Yeah, so and they recognize that for about 70, 80, 90% of their life, they don't need much more than this car or another car which is driving by electric power. Yeah, so.
And exactly, I mean, what are the people thinking about the Nissan Leaf? Well, the concept that you still have, an achievable price and already a very good range has now made the Nissan Leaf the most sold electric car in the world. I think that also speaks for the car. Thank you very much for watching Autogefühl here with Thomas and Thomas. And see you next time, and give us your comments on the exterior, interior and the driving, and of course in general about the electric car concept. Thanks.